Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen. It's Tuesday and I'm Kathy Astor, blogger at plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. I'm glad you decided to join me. We're going to be cooking some jackfruit in the Instant Pot today. So basically we're going to make a super easy taco filling that takes very little time. Hi Jenny, thanks for joining. If you have some questions as we go along, go ahead and post them. Be sure to say hi. If you want to, you can tell me what kind of Instant Pot you have. I just like hearing from you while I'm cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and heat up and start sauteing the onions, and we can talk a little bit more. So what we're going to be doing is kind of an orange lime chili jackfruit taco filling. You could use it in burritos, on top of salads. It's just a really neat kind of meat substitute. Oh, hi Shelly. And it's her first video. Yay! Yeah, and I will tell you both ways that you can use oil or not use oil as we go along so that you can adapt it to your own diet. Typically, I go ahead and cook whole food plant-based. Hi Debbie, welcome. It's so good to see you guys here. Okay, I'm going to switch cameras. This is my 3-quart Instant Pot. And so let me move everything around. And I'm going to turn this, and I know you can't really see it, but I'm going to turn it on, click the saute button, and then I'm going to make sure, I think you can see this. So see, there's less, normal, or more, and it will change as I do this. So for right now, I'm going to use normal. And I actually just cooked a batch in here, so I'm going to go ahead and put my half chopped onion. It's like a half of a small chopped onion-ish. And what that really means is if you like onions a lot, use a lot of them. If you hate onions, don't use so much of them. These are chopped. You could also do them in kind of fajita thin slices if you wanted to. And I don't have any oil or water in this pan right now. I do find for me that it doesn't really stick very much. Now it will take, actually maybe I am going to go ahead and go to more just to see if I can speed it up while we're talking. Hi Deb K, thank you so much for joining in. You guys are so awesome. Let's see, did I miss anybody else? Oh, and good, I'm glad it's a lot of your firsts. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go out of frame every once in a while. Let's see if I can turn it a little bit so I can just kind of stir the onion while we're talking. So, first things first, this is a fast, easy recipe. Yeah, there are different, Debbie said I didn't know there were different levels to saute. Yes, and I will tell you on my 6-quart, I often do it on low, especially if I'm going to be prepping a bunch of different vegetables while I'm doing it, because I find it gets pretty hot pretty fast. So, I'm doing this today without oil. Should you want to use oil, you would just go ahead and put maybe 2 teaspoons, a tablespoon of maybe olive oil or the oil of your choice. Let it warm up and then add the onion. Since I'm not using oil, I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's kind of starting to sizzle a little bit, which is pretty cool. So I don't need to really let it warm up that much. Plus, I literally, right before I got on, took the jackfruit I cooked that I'm going to show you the cooked version of. So this pot's pretty warm. Hi Anita, welcome. So many yummy new people. So, okay, so since this is, I don't know where you are now, but it's actually as hot as it should be in late July. So I think they said the heat index was something stupid like 105 yesterday. I'm in North Carolina. You know, it shouldn't be that way. So it's hard to cook sometimes when it's so hot, and it just, I don't know about you, but I'm just like, why can't I just grab out of the fridge, right, and just eat? This is something that's really awesome. I even find that just sauteing in my Instant Pot doesn't heat up the kitchen as much as sauteing on my stovetop. So that's one plus. Another plus is we could just skip the sauteing altogether, and you can do this in any of your favorite Instant Pot recipes. Instead of using onion, you could use onion powder. Because remember, onion powder isn't a weird blend of chemicals. It's sliced onions that have been dehydrated and ground, just like any other spice. So there's nothing bad for you in it. That you might want to check if you get some kind of weird off-brand, but it should just have onion. It shouldn't have salt or anything. Oh, Anita, thank you so much. She says, I have all your cookbooks and recommend them to everyone. You guys are so sweet to me, and I really, really do appreciate it. Just want to make sure we don't burn these. Chances are, I probably will. But, again, that's another good lesson. You don't have to cook perfectly to have a really delicious dinner, right? So, what I was going to is, if it's so hot, you don't even want to saute. Because last night, we actually made pasta and jarred sauce in the Instant Pot, and it didn't heat the house up at all. And all I had to do was throw in pasta, sauce, and some extra water, and let it cook. And then opened it, and it was ready. This can be really the same way, because we're going to cook this for 10 minutes on high pressure once everything's together. You totally could use soy curls in place of jackfruit. For those of you who don't know, soy curls are non-GMO soybeans that have been squished and dried. So they look like TVP, but they're not. They're actually really a Whole Foods product. And they come dried. So, Anita, what I would do is one of two things. I would either reconstitute them with hot water or broth before I put them in here, or I would try to increase the I would use broth instead of water in the actual jackfruit recipe, and then maybe add some extra, maybe a cup or so. It's easier if you reconstitute it, then there's no wiggle room. But if you're doing something like that in the Instant Pot, always estimate up, right? Because we can cook water out, but we can't get water back. So as far as if it burns and then it doesn't come up to pressure, there's some other things that can happen if you don't have enough liquid in your Instant Pot when you're cooking with it. So I always err on the side of maybe this is a little bit too much liquid, and then I can just, after the pressure cooking, I can click off and then click saute again and cook that off without the lid on it. So that's how I kind of experiment with things. So I think what we're going to do while these onions are finishing up is I'm going to show you some jackfruit and how I shred it. Everybody doesn't shred it by hand before they put it in, but I really prefer to. So, and I'll just go back and forth between the two. So this is a can of jackfruit. It's in brine. I thought I had some Trader Joe's as well. You can buy this in Trader Joe's. Typically, it's around $3 a can. And I would say this would make a whole recipe for 4 for tacos or something like that. You wouldn't just eat this, you would have some other things. So, and now I'm going to turn it to this. Okay. So what you're going to see is some little weird things in here, right? So these are kind of triangles of jackfruit. You want to make sure the label does not say in syrup, because the jackfruit we're using isn't ripe. And so when it's not ripe, it's a great meat substitute. When it is ripe, it's for dessert. So this is how I do mine. And this is a little squishier. So I squish it at the end, and sometimes in this brand that I just got, there's a bunch of seeds. You can leave them in or take them out. It's kind of up to you. And this part I smush, or if this one's a little bit firmer, tear it apart some. And this is just because I've had some brands that I wasn't fond of as far as it coming apart while it's cooked. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over here for a second. And I'm going to add to this onion a teaspoon of smoked paprika. That gives it a really yummy, smoky flavor. If you don't like smoked paprika or smoky flavors, don't use it. I'm using 2 different chili powders that I made myself. You could change it to any 2 you want. The guajillo, I think, is really important to use. You could use ancho. If you want to make this super spicy, you could even use cayenne or chipotle or something like that. So what I want to do real quick while I'm doing this, here you go, now you can see, is I'm just toasting the spices up. The green stuff I threw in there this time is marjoram. the recipe calls for Mexican oregano, which is a little more floral than an Italian oregano. And I couldn't find mine, so second choice for Mexican oregano is marjoram, because it still has that really kind of heady floral smell and flavor, and it just works really well as a substitute. And you could, if you don't have all the fancy chili powders, you could just use an actual blend of chili powder, and that would be fine too. And again, you can use different kinds depending on how hot or not hot you'd like it. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the liquids, which is a 1/4 cup of orange juice, 1/3 cup of water, and that way I'm going to just, okay, Laura, what question do you have, sweetheart? I just see a question mark. So the reason I'm putting this in right now is just so everything doesn't burn while I show you how to do the jackfruit. But this truly is the beginning of the recipe, and you can start to smell the citrus flavors, and I'm going to squeeze in the juice of half a lime. And if you do alcohol, you could add maybe a teaspoon or two of tequila, and that would probably be kind of an interesting flavor to add in. So again, what we're cooking today, and maybe that's what Laura was asking with the question mark, is we are making jackfruit tacos. And so with the canned jackfruit, again, I always start at the bottom where everything just kind of fans out. You can see this is where a seed pod was, but there's not a seed pod there. And one of the things, especially in soups that you might be making like chicken, this part is really good, and it's kind of chewy compared to the other. How many of you have tried jackfruit? Jackfruit, in my mind, is almost like tofu in that it doesn't have a lot of flavor on its own. So I tend to like to do jackfruit in some really strong things. Yes, and Cheryl, we're going to have these for dinner tomorrow, because we're going out to a vegan beer dinner tonight at Dos Perros. So if any of you are local and going to that, please let me know and come say hey to me. And hopefully we'll be at the same table. But so this brand, I actually got this one. God, that's the biggest seed I've seen in a while. So I'm just kind of putting those to the side. And I do know that people make dishes just with the seeds as well. And Shelly's never tried jackfruit. And some people like it and don't like it. It is, especially I made a Thai tom yum soup that had coconut milk, and it was kind of scary how much it seemed like chicken. So sometimes it feels more chickeny. It's used in place of pork to make vegan and vegetarian barbecue sandwiches. Ooh, Deb K says she plays with jackfruit and she's trying a jackfruit beet chili in the Instant Pot. Well, Deb, we're going to want that recipe. I can tell you that right now. So I hope you're writing it down. And I love beet everything. Oh, hey is Southern, Anita? I thought y'all was Southern, but I am Southern. I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina originally, and now I live in Durham, North Carolina. Yeah, and you know, it's very interesting, and what I like so much right now about jackfruit is that it is at Trader Joe's markets, which more people have access to than necessarily an Asian market, but you can find it in any Asian market as well. And in fact, what's crazy is I went to Campari Foods, which is our local Hispanic market, to get a few things to make my margarita salsa, or my margarita sauce, hot sauce. And they had a whole display of these, and they were 50 cents a can, you guys. 50 cents a can. It was kind of crazy. Oh, and Shelly, you've only made butternut squash soup? Yay for making butternut squash soup. I'm always so proud of all of you when you start experimenting with your Instant Pots or new ingredients. and it makes me really happy. So don't forget, if you make something, especially if you make anything, you can come to my group, Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Astor, and share your photos. If you have some questions about recipes, that's a real easy way to get a hold of me. And for those of you who are kind of new to your Instant Pot or are looking for some more information, this coming Saturday I have an online class, and you can get information and a discount code through my private Facebook group, which is Vegan Cooking. Vegan, blah, doing too many things at the same time. I'm sorry, guys. It is Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Astor is the name of the group. And in there is a link to get the class, and through that link you'll get $5 off. So the class is about $35, and it's going to be 2.5, 3 hours of instruction. You can watch it live when it's going on Saturday at 1 at Eastern Standard Time, or you can watch the recording as many times as you want after that. You can ask questions after that as well. I'll be checking in on the forums, so you'll still have that. How many cups of jackfruit? I'm adding 1 can, which I would guesstimate to be about 1.5 cups, like most things. I used 1 teaspoon. Actually, let me check the recipe. I think I used 1 teaspoon. 2 teaspoons total of chili powder. So I used 1 of Guajillo in the recipe and 1 of like Californian or New Mexican. And you know what? I make my own chili powders. You can get a lot of these at the Latin market for very inexpensive too. So that's helpful. Oh, cool. You're having the same thing for lunch. Let's see. Deb K asks, have I ever canned it? You know, I don't do a lot of canning, and I'm not super savvy on all the food safety stuff for canning, so I've done jam and pickles, and that's about it. I think you would have to pressure can it. In fact, you can get it fresh. You can freeze it. I'm going to go ahead and just finish off this, showing you this recipe. So in here, right, we've got the onions we sauteed. We have chili pepper. We have Mexican oregano or marjoram if you don't have any, lime juice, orange juice, a little bit of water. You could use broth instead of water. I was also suggesting maybe just a tiny bit, like really a tiny bit, like 1 or 2 teaspoons of tequila would give it kind of an interesting flavor if you imbibe. If you don't worry about it. It's just another way to kind of flavor it up, kind of like using bourbon or rum if you're making a barbecue sauce. So I'm just going to mix this in here, and the only thing I want to do when I'm mixing right now is make sure I'm deglazing the pan, so I'm getting all the good yummy stuff off of there too, just to make sure all the spices are mixed in. And we'll see how long I end up talking. And if you have enough questions, then you might get to see me release it live. So I'm putting this on, making sure this is turned to sealing, not venting. I'm going to go to pressure cook. It's going to be on high pressure for 10 minutes. So it's going to take a little while for it to get up to pressure, though typically it's faster because we've sauteed something in there. Okay, let's see what we got here. The recipe is posted online. It's if you go to plantbasedinstantpot.com, up at the top, there's some pictures, and you can keep clicking them, or you can scroll down past on the very first page, and you'll see it first under summer recipes, or you can click recipes, and I will come back and put it in. I have some recipes that are similar, so I have a similar recipe in the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for your Instant Pot, which you guys may have. And if you guys have it, let me know, and let me know if you have any questions about it too. It's a really good book. I'm really happy with how it's working out. So I hope you guys like it too. So the recipe is posted. I've been talking about it for a while. Hi, Angela. Welcome. It's so good to see you. And let's see. And Debbie Dean said she just started Ning, I hope you didn't mention this yet. I saw frozen jackfruit at Whole Foods. I have not used frozen jackfruit, but I've been posting this recipe around in some different groups, and I've been getting some feedback that I should try the frozen. So I'm going to be on the lookout for it, and if I can find it, I'll update even the recipe on the blog and talk about frozen jackfruit if it'll work for the recipe. Oh, Kathy, I'm so glad that you like it. Oh, thanks, Angela. So, and Debbie, since you just came in, I can't tell the time you just came in. And was it you that talked about the frozen jackfruit? So I'm very interested in trying it. I will say that. I don't see why it would be an issue. So one of the things that I'm learning about jackfruit is that it actually all comes ripe kind of at the same time. So what happens is a lot of it just rots and goes to waste. So that's why you'll find it canned, frozen probably, and you don't see it fresh as often. If you're going to find it fresh, you're probably going to find it in an Asian market or an Indian market. Those are the two places that I've seen it. And so if we could get frozen in Whole Foods, depending on how affordable it is, because that can be, you know, a deal breaker sometimes. But if you see it on sale for 50 cents at your local market, like this is a big can. I mean, it's a drained, it's a 10-ounce can. And I know people have been asking what's my favorite brand to buy, and honestly, I often just buy whatever's cheapest at the Asian market. I buy Trader Joe's when I'm there. I try to have it stocked up. Oh, Angela, now I remember. I'm sorry. I was talking to her about the tom yum recipe that I mentioned just a little bit earlier. So that's going to be in my new revised vegan slow cooker cookbook that comes out at the end of December. So I use jackfruit to make both, to be the shredded chicken substitute. And when I was talking about how in the triangles, you know, there's the part that's a little bit harder. That's the part that really gave it some nice, yummy, chew mouthfeel that I liked. And that's what freaked out my friends a little bit. They were like, if I didn't know it was jackfruit, I would have thought it was shredded chicken. So for me, in a way, that's kind of a plus. Because what I like to do with these kind of substitutes is really help people satisfy cravings they might have from a long time. Oh, cool. And so Angela's going to tell us how it turns out. She's making it with jackfruit and without the tofu. I gave her kind of, I found another recipe for her. And those of you who want to look up tom yum, all you'd really have to do, it's usually like a chicken broth with coconut milk and some seasonings particular to Thailand that you will probably need to get at the Asian market, but it's so worth it. And just like ginger, some of these things as well can just be stuck in the freezer. So you could just use what you need, stick it in the freezer, and use it again when you're ready. I also used some jackfruit to make a pad thai, and that was pretty good too. So I've been kind of playing with it a little bit more. Oh, Anita, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm glad you love the book. And I don't know if you can hear it. It's like trying to come up to pressure, but I'm not going to make you guys wait for 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is show you the one I've already cooked, and if you ask enough questions, you too can watch me manually release the pressure. But if not, so keep going with your questions. So this guy isn't quite up yet, but it's trying. So this is what it's going to look like once it's cooked. Let me see if can you guys see that pretty well? And so this one has a little more seedy pod stuff than the others did. It really is the other parts that look a little more like pulled pork. But once this is in a taco, it's going to be so good. Let me take a bite. So you can really taste the savoriness of the onions. You get a little burst of citrus, lime, with just ever so tiny hint of the orange. You hardly taste the orange at all. You really taste the chili powders. And you could put salt in this. I didn't put salt in it today because I know a lot of the people who will be watching this don't eat salt. And almost all my recipes say salt to taste at the end, if at all possible. And that's because if you have a health issue, if your doctor wants you to eat less salt, you can just make it the way you want to. Almost all of my recipes can be made soy-free, gluten-free, oil-free, salt-free, all the different frees. Okay, so Dawn actually was testing on my revised vegan slow cooker book that you can pre-order on Amazon right now if you're interested. I'm actually going through the pages, which means I have all these printouts that I'm going and doing final edits on, so it's kind of cool. And Kate Lewis did the pictures, and they're very beautiful. So the new revised vegan slow cooker is a much more beautiful book, and there's lots of new recipes too. So anyhow, and yes, I did post the recipe, and Angela, you remember where we were talking about it? There's a link to the recipe there as well. But if you go to plantbasedinstantpot.com, you can either use the search to search for jackfruit, or scroll down, and then there's 3 pictures, and they're arrows. If you hit arrows, you'll start to see the jackfruit. How do you pre-order a book? Excellent. You go to Amazon.com, and I recommend going to Amazon to pre-order books anytime, and this is why. So the slow cooker book comes out at the end of December. So if you pre-order it today, the lowest price it gets between now and December, even if it's for 1 minute, that's the price you get. So you will get the lowest price on the book. So even if it said it was $30 right now and one day it's $11, you'll get they'll charge you the $11 price when it comes out. So that's awesome. And I always pre-order books as much as possible. It also helps because sometimes it helps if you guys pre-order a lot of books, they might stock more books too. It's just kind of a win-win, but really financially, it's a good way to go for you. Oh, thanks, Angela. She's pre-ordering now. There's another book, and I think it's being called The Ultimate Vegan Cookbook. It's me and I think maybe 6 other authors. It's going to be like 1,000 recipes or 800 recipes, and I'll be posting about that too. I actually have the lasers for that this week, so I have lots of work to do. Anita asked, can you slow cook in your Instant Pot? Yes, you can. And do you get a reminder of when it's coming out? Amazon will send something to you. They'll send something when they're billing it. And then they'll tell you, usually it's a few days before you would get it. Also, if the book does come out earlier, you will get the book earlier because you pre-ordered. And so back to, can you slow cook in your Instant Pot? And I will say, yes, you can, and no, not everything. So the first thing I would never do is take a slow cooker baking recipe like my vegan pound cake, right? Don't cook that in your Instant Pot. You can bake in your Instant Pot, but I find that it's better to use the pressure cooker function for that and to use an Instant Pot recipe. So that's the first no. The second no to me is cooking dried beans from scratch, and which sounds weird. Oh, awesome. Well, and you know what? I can, underneath this, I'll put the, let's see, I don't know the exact name of the book off the top of my head, but what I'm going to do is once we get off of here, I'll go ahead and post them. How about that? I'll post the links to both the books you can pre-order, and I'll do the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for your Instant Pot. And if you guys tell me some other things you want me to, I'll link to the recipe as well. And if you want, I didn't bring it up today, but I have actually these cool shirts with the logo. And I know you can see it on your window. It says Plant-Based Instant Pot. Next to it is that cool Instant Pot drawing that a lovely children's illustrator made for me. And so you can also have your own Plant-Based Instant Pot t-shirt if you want to. So I'll put that down there. So back to slow cooking. So what's weird is that you would think that slow cooking dried beans is awesome, right? Slow cooking dried beans in your Instant Pot on the slow cooker function. So be sure that you hear that. Dried beans on the pressure cooker function in the Instant Pot is awesome. And that's what you should use. But what happens is the timing's really off for dried beans. So I've had some people cook them twice as long or on high, and it's a little iffy. So if it's just you and your Instant Pot and some dried beans, I would use the pressure cooker function. If you wanted to do like a curry or a stew or something that's using canned beans, you can certainly use the slow cooker function. And I actually talk a little more in this revised vegan slow cooker about using your Instant Pot on the slow cooker function. But those are the two main disclaimers I make. Don't do slow cooking function for baking or for dried beans. Oh, awesome. The air fryer book, I think you'll really enjoy. There's some really good stuff in there. And for those of you who are oil-free, you can always spray some aquafaba instead of spray oil to get some of the spices to stick to it when you're air frying. And Jamie, thank you so much. I'm glad you got to see me on Chef AJ. And Angela already has a t-shirt. You guys are just like awesome. I'm so lucky that I have you guys to help and to support me so much. You guys are wonderful, and I appreciate it. Again, I will, the new slow cooker book is not for 2 people, though most of them you could cut the recipes in half and cook it in a 1.5 to 2 quart slow cooker. So I don't know if the small vegan slow cooker, or vegan slow cooking for 2 is the name of that book. I don't know if it's going to be revised at this point. What else? Any other questions you guys have before we get off? We've got 5 minutes. If you fill up 5 minutes, I'll show you the manual pressure release. So any of you who are here too, I will also post a link to my group. Yeah, freeze what you don't use. Indeed, I am, because I'm making 2 batches. Anita, I'll put a t-shirt link. I actually have some t-shirts printed that are like this logo with the drawing of the Instant Pot and plant-based Instant Pot underneath it. I didn't bring it up today. I showed it last week. My next big project is, well, there are a couple of projects that are in the works. Like basically the revised vegan slow cooker and the ultimate vegan cookbook are my two book projects for the year. I am working on plantbasedinstantpot.com, and that's my new site, so I'm really trying to put a lot of effort into that. Thank you. I'm glad you like my kitchen window. I do too. So I'm also thinking of maybe doing an ebook with some ultimate weight loss recipes. So we'll talk about that. And I'm going to be at Chef AJ's Ultimate Weight Loss Weekend in Las Vegas. So I will be there with some books, and possibly I may be bringing some spice blends to sell as well. She's been really wanting me to do that. So those of you who are going will hear a little more about that when the time comes. And Debbie's asking, I have an 8-quart Instant Pot. Do you recommend having a 3-quart? I think it's awesome to have 2 Instant Pots if you can. And so I had 2 6-quarts for a while, and because when I made the Ultimate Vegan Slow Cooker, the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for your Instant Pot, too many names of books to remember, there were only 6 quarts, right? So it was back in the dark ages, I guess. Now there's like 80,000 different Instant Pots and different brands of electric multi-cookers that have pressure cooker functions that can be used. Oh, that's awesome. And you know, if there's a spice blend you've heard me talk about, especially talking about with Chef AJ, that you'd be interested in, I'm thinking of maybe doing a trial run of 1 or 2. I do not sell my spice blends. This would be a new thing for me. A lot of people who do follow Chef AJ have been asking for some of my spice blends. I have spice blends in every single book that I do, so you can get the recipes as well and make them. I just started doing that because I know it can be hard to find some blends without salt and then some blends that really just fit your taste. So that's why I started making it. I found a brand of chili powder I loved, and now I can't have it anymore, so I had to recreate it. And so now I'm just kind of trying to go in with making my own first so I don't get disappointed. But yeah, again, so I know she's interested in the barbecue spice blend. I'm thinking of maybe doing the Cajun spice. I don't, it's all up in the air. We seriously are just having such beginning talks about it. But if you have some ideas, I'm definitely open to listen. And we only have 1 minute before you get to see it. Have all of you guys seen the dragon steam release? Because if not, it's worth waiting for. And my favorite salad dressing, I love a balsamic, but I also like the ranch that I made it's actually in Chef AJ's book. Let me show you Chef AJ's book. I have it nearby. So, and those of you who don't know Chef AJ, she does a very specific diet that's a little more limited than some of the other whole food plant-based diets for people who are trying to lose a lot of weight or have some food addictions. And you can talk to her about all of that as well. But she has some recipes in here, and I actually made a vegan ranch for her that uses as a base roasted onion and a head of roasted garlic. So that worked really well. Yeah, I can make garam masala without pepper. That's easy. It would make me a little sad, but I know you hate pepper, Dawn, so I would make you one. The dragons are really cool, and I got one at Etsy, and again, I'm just evidently going to put a bazillion links for you guys today. And it's time! You guys asked enough questions. Really, you guys have been such a rewarding audience today. So, one of the things that people get scared of, okay, here's the dragon. Arr, arr. So, and it's been 3D printed, and they have them for different types, so you'll pick if you have, this is a duo, if you have the Luxe, which is going to not have the yogurt function, and I think isn't there the Ultra right now? I think they all have different. So when you manually release the pressure, you put your finger here, and usually what I do is tap it, right? I know there's not much liquid in this, so, and it's fun because it comes out of the dragon's mouth. And just beyond being kind of, I know, is that not the most awesome thing ever? Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining. You were seeing the Dragon Steam Releaser, which was, I just think it's cool. And it's fun. And they actually, if you watch Game of Thrones, which I don't, they have the Game of Thrones wolf that does the same thing. But so, you'll find some that aren't dragons, and basically what happens, this means I'm not touching the steam, and I'm directing it away from my cabinets and away from me. So that's just one of the ways to do it. And do you have to have one? Absolutely not. Not in any circumstances at all. So, and you can see there's a little bit of liquid in here. If you wanted to make yours drier, there are a couple things you could do. We could switch this to saute right now and then let it get dry. We could also do that to kind of give a little more chew to the jackfruit. You could also put this on a baking sheet at 350 and bake it to get a little chewier. But honestly, I like it like this. But you should make it however it's going to make you happy because it's your dinner. But I know we had to ask a lot of questions because just watching a video for 10 minutes is a very, very long time. But at home, you can start that for 10 minutes, walk away, make some tea for dinner, do an errand, read a book, relax, and then come back and just release that, and dinner's there. So, I mean, seriously, the first batch I took probably from start to finish, and I was going kind of slow, maybe took like 17 minutes tops. So this is really easy, doesn't heat up your house. For those of you who are just joining, one of the things I mentioned was if you didn't want to saute onions because it's just too hot or it's too much work, you could use onion powder instead. Okay, Sean, I want I went looking for jackfruit at Sprouts yesterday and they didn't have any fresh. Yes. So if you're looking for fresh jackfruit, you're going to want to go to an Indian market or an Asian market. Those are the places you're going to find it most often. It is seasonal, but I see it sometimes more often than I would expect to. What we're using most of the time, and you can get it at an Asian market, or Trader Joe's has their own brand, Sean. So it's very easy. If you have a Trader Joe's, you can just go there and get that. If you're buying it in the cans in an Asian grocery store, you want to make sure it says in brine or in water, never in syrup. Because that means it's ripe and it's sweet, and that's not going to be so great for our tacos. So does anybody have any other questions? Because if not, I'm going to wrap up. Don't forget, please sign up for my class. It's called, I think it's called Class 2, Start Cooking in Your Instant Pot. And it just has, we're going to do 5 recipes. It's going to be really fun. Lots of takeout kind of yummy food that I think you'll really enjoy. If you're brand new, or if you're just you've done 1 or 2 things, this is a great class for you, or if you just want to cook along. So I'm going to be putting all the links underneath this. So I'll give you links for everything. If for some reason I space it and I don't put a link for something that you want, just tell me and I will go back immediately. Just checked. Oh, I just got the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot. Yeah, that's this one. That's the one that came out last year. And Sean is taking the class, and she can't wait. And I can't wait for it either because it's awesome. It's like this, only way more intensive cooking. But I get to answer your questions just the same way. And I also like it because when I'm learning something new, it's kind of nice to see somebody doing it. And then being able to watch it again and again means that you can cook those dishes right along with me over and over again as many times as you want. But you guys have been wonderful, and thank you so much for all your support. Make sure to sign up for the mailing list on Plant-Based Instant Pot if you get a second, and I will be putting a link extravaganza underneath this video. Have a wonderful week, and hopefully I'll see a lot of you on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.